If you've been following my adventures, you may be familiar with our investigations in regards to the famous 1916 shark attacks, which took place along the Jersey Shore and inspired the book and film Jaws, even though author Peter Benchley may not want to admit it. If you didn't see the original videos, I've linked them below and off to the side. I didn't think I'd make a third video about it, but yesterday was the 106th anniversary of the attack, and I finally went on the official Matawan Shark Attack Tour, hosted by the Matawan Historical Society. And I learned more about the history and filled in some of the gaps in the story, so I want to share some things. First, I have to thank the Historical Society for volunteering their time and putting together what was probably the best history tour I've been on in a while. They were so thorough and respectful, and some relatives of Lester's were even there this time. The tour guide and head of the Historical Society, Curtis, said this was a much bigger turnout than anticipated. Eventually, I will investigate the Burroughs Mansion Museum as well. It's been on my list for years. Confirmed hauntings from Curtis himself. So on the tour, they brought a shark expert who dedicates his life to studying sharks and their conservation. Now, I know what I'm about to say is controversial, but even though I initially stated that the shark was a bull shark, the shark expert presented a compelling case as to how it was most likely a great white, and possibly even more than one. I hope I'm repeating this back correctly, but he explained that yes, bull sharks, they would be in freshwater, and this is why it was initially believed to be a bull shark. However, the Matawan Creek is actually saltwater and connects to the ocean. I didn't know this. He believes that a great white found itself lost here and attacked people in a state of confusion. And a bull shark would have been swimming deep in its natural habitat anyway.
Captain Cottrell said he saw the shark swimming underneath the bridge. He wouldn't have seen a bull shark. It was deep enough that that thing would have been swimming on the bottom.
It's totally okay if you don't agree, I just think these were interesting points. There are various pictures online of different sharks, which I'm sure added to the debate, but keep in mind, there was a reward out to catch the shark, so people were coming from all over and capturing whatever sharks they could get. Also, I mentioned in my last video how 15 pounds of flesh were pulled from a shark, but there's actually no confirmation whether it was human or not. Nothing matched Lester's DNA. Back in the day, farmers, I think they said, would dump dead animals in the creek. I might not be repeating that part correctly, but that's the gist of it. Moving forward, the tour took us to other locations I didn't know about, some even known to be haunted. We took the route Lester's friends would have ran to get help for their friend. We saw the shop where Stanley Fisher worked as a tailor. And Stanley, by the way, initially didn't believe Lester was attacked. He thought that maybe Lester had a seizure and the boys were misinterpreting what happened. It wasn't until Stanley arrived at the scene and saw blood that he knew Lester was truly attacked. 2 hours later is when Stanley was attacked when trying to retrieve Lester's body, which means the shark was waiting by Lester's body for 2 hours. Lester's body was recovered 2 days later, with his body mauled but face still intact. So we also saw where the funerals of Stanley and Lester were held, including where Stanley's hearse moved in. Lester's service took place in his own home. We stopped by Stanley's home, which hadn't been lived in for 25 years and is now getting renovated. And we even stayed to go back to the cemetery, which made for some funny commentary.
I'm back at Rosehill Cemetery, legally, which is rare. I'm here with Ken and Joe, and we're actually here with tour guides, so I am not the tour guide for once. And every time I go on a tour, it's an out-of-body experience when I'm not the tour guide, but it's nice.
Is this where the tour, fuck me up, man.
Is
this where the depth trials are?
So look out.
The tour pointed out how it's interesting how Stanley Fisher's grave is on a hill overlooking Lester's, as if he's still watching over him even after death. And apparently people from all over the world come to visit Lester's grave. There have been notes left behind from even people who live in Australia. I'd also like to add that my predictions as to why there's a no trespassing sign were correct. Apparently there have been some rituals performed here at this cemetery. I do not recommend anyone does this, especially to the extent that these were. They involved vandals, fires, even some animal sacrifices. Please do not do this. And I find it interesting that both Joe and then Ken, during this trip, were drawn to the same tree, and trees have been used in these rituals. This truly was an event that put humans in our place. We became more aware about the real dangers around us. Not to say that sharks are evil, they're actually endangered. This one in particular just seemed to be confused. Lastly, the actual location of the old docks, which are mere pilings now, are directly on the other side of the mural, which we came so close to last time. We tried to get there by foot this time, but I think it can only be reached by boat or literal swimming. I'd like to get there at some point, and I will of course make another video when I do. The shark expert said that he and Curtis swam there to the exact date and time of the 100th anniversary of the attack, and I'm so jealous. We still did test the urban legend at the newer docks.
Alright, we're gonna jump in right now or swim. We're not convincing enough.
So you tell me, would you swim to the old docks at night and test out the legend of the Matawan Creek?
Me up, man.